So hi, um, I'm Jonathan Hamill. Welcome. I'm the chief game designer here at Eon Reality. I'm a relatively new hire, about 6 months ago. I work out of the global headquarters in Irvine, California in the United States, and my Twitter, if you want it, is @JamelTime. So my background prior to Eon is in commercial mass market interactive entertainment from Sesame Street, where I was a producer for online games in 1998, to PC and console games like Battle for Middle-earth 2, Rise of the Witch King, the Tomb Raider franchise reboot in 2013, and Rise of the Tomb Raider for Xbox and PlayStation 4 last year. And if you're here, I expect you're involved in edutainment and you're interested in what we talked about in the invitation letter. So, which said that you may have heard about or tried out virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, or 360-degree videos, but what you're looking for today are real answers about how any of these technologies will help your business and your bottom line. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little brief introduction like this. I want to talk a little bit about what I mean by edutainment as opposed to other solutions that Eon offers, and give you some background on our company, Eon Reality, and some background on VR and AR technologies and platforms that we use here to develop solutions for clients and customers. And then, since we have developed past projects in edutainment, I wanted to share some patterns we've seen in problems our clients face, as well as some case studies on past solutions that we've created, and give you an idea of how other folks are using this technology in entertainment. And of course, I'm also hoping that you'll approach me with your precious production budgets to see what we can develop for you, so we can create amazing entertainment experiences with you and help solve your business problems. So let me start by talking about what I mean by edutainment. It's a word composed of education and entertainment, but that's a pretty wide range that could include the bad joke at the beginning of a corporate travel policy training session, right? And Eon Reality already has another webinar that we do on education and educational software, which is software primarily designed to teach. But edutainment, at least if we look at the history of it in linear media, is a form of entertainment that is designed for the mass market. It's mass market entertainment that's not fictional, but it's designed, yes, to entertain them, but also to inspire them and to inform them. So in linear media, we have really great words for media that entertain, inspire, and inform. There are theatrical release documentaries like Eagle Huntress, which is in theaters now, or March of the Penguins, came out a few years ago. Those are documentaries. We can also consider TV series like Cosmos to be edutainment. Cosmos, which in the reboot dared to run not on PBS, if you recall, but on network television, commercial-supported network television. We also have the word docudrama for Hollywood films like Spotlight and The Big Short that are based on true events and star actors playing real people. And even something like Schoolhouse Rock might qualify because, boy, those tunes are catchy, and it's really hard to forget exactly what the process is by which a bill becomes a law in the United States once you've heard Schoolhouse Rock or watched Sesame Street, which, as I mentioned, I worked at as producer for online games in 1998. So, what's common about these, across these, is that the consumers, the viewers who crave these kinds of experiences want to be informed. They don't want to be bored. They want to be inspired. They want to be entertained. They want to be informed. Edutainment is not didactic, where they're being lectured at, right? The products must be worthy of being sought out and not prescribed for them. So these same people that consume edutainment in linear media are also interested in it in interactive edutainment. So, we'll find these same customers at museums. They'll be the ones who, or aquariums, they'll be the ones who go to tourist and travel attractions or do adventure travel, and they want to learn something about the place that they're going. There are people who'll go to amusement parks, and they're interested in attending the talk about how the animals are trained in the animal show. These are people seeking out learning, people who watch TED Talks. They're not people who need to be tricked into learning or who are interested in being told what they should learn. They're also fans who want to know everything about something that they care about, or they're game players looking for something more meaningful, a more meaningful experience than pure escapism. And increasingly, these people are looking out into the world in augmented reality to learn what's hidden from view in the world around them. People like geocachers who are interested in seeing things, finding things that are out there. Or there are people who are avid to consume some of the really excellent journalism that's taking place in 360 videos right now. These 360 videos, whether they're on YouTube or part of the New York Times VR cardboard effort, they're letting people go places and be near people that they can't reach in the physical world in their daily lives. So these people, they're people who have money in hand looking to spend it on something amazing and memorable that they can tell their friends about, an experience that entertains them and teaches them something about the real world. So that's the ideal that we're aiming for with edutainment as opposed to educational software. Every family when I was growing up had National Geographic magazine sitting on their coffee table, and that's edutainment. So the overall point that I want to make here is that edutainment customers are not interested in being dragged to educational software that's prescribed as good for them. They're adventurers thirsty for something that will satisfy their curiosity. They'll watch TED Talks, read nonfiction, listen to great courses on the radio. And if we can offer them any value at all, this group is primed to be monetized. But you need to offer them something of value first, and then we can tune the experience to further monetize them if we build a relationship with them over time. I read something, I wanted a quote for you. Lynn Cutter, National Geographic's Executive Vice President for Travel and Licensing, told the New York Times in 2015 that there's an increasing demand for meaningful experiences now. When people have so many choices on how to spend their money, right now she says that they're valuing experiences more than they're valuing material things. So that's the overall target. That's what I mean when I'm talking about edutainment as opposed to educational software. So let me talk a little bit about Eon Reality. So we're one of the most experienced companies in virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. We started in California in 1999. So Eon is one of the early adopters of VR and has survived because we've been making money across a number of different verticals. And now we have 10 offices around the world and have done work in education, oil and gas, and other energy companies, aerospace, which is big here near the global headquarters in Southern California. We've done work in the medical field and for pharmaceutical companies, and even some work in retail and real estate on top of the work that we've done in edutainment. And there are case studies across all these verticals on our website, which I encourage you to check out. Now, what ties all of the work we've done across these verticals together is our concentration on knowledge transfer. We believe as a company purpose that knowledge is a human right, and our goal is to make knowledge available, affordable, and accessible to everybody on the planet. It's an inspiring vision, and that's one reason I was motivated to leave the world of pure video game entertainment and join a company focused on building experiences that inspire and inform, that transfer knowledge as well as entertain. That's really exciting and meaningful to me. That's why I'm here. So while I'm covering the company as a whole, I should mention that we believe that creativity shouldn't just be the domain of developers with deep technical skills like us. So an example of this is an educational product that we have, a mobile educational product we have on phones and tablets called Eon Experience AVR, which enables anyone without programming skills to create VR and AR learning modules on phones and tablets, and then share them with other people without having to learn anything about programming or even about launching apps on the Google Play or iOS store. It's built on top of the AVR platform, which I'm going to probably mention multiple times, which is a cloud-based solution that can be white labeled. It can be white labeled for you and used to distribute custom training applications, edutainment applications, any VR and AR application that we can develop for you within a school system or a university or corporation with internal training needs. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. So if we want to entertain, inform, and inspire people around the world, it's not good enough for the communication to be one way, for us in the US to determine what knowledge ought to be transferred to the rest of the world. And this is where Eon is really unique. So previous companies I've shipped games, we localized into many languages and then, sold them around the world. But here at Eon, my coworkers come from and work in offices across the globe. So we have an extremely diverse group of people compared to most tech companies that are just based in California or in the United States. We have a really inclusive company culture, and we insource to development teams that are part of the company in offices all over the world. So, I mentioned we have 10 offices around the world. That's because one way that Eon has grown is by co-investing with local governments and other organizations in countries like big ones are Singapore, the United Kingdom, France, Sweden, Mauritius, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, and in the United States in Duncanville, Texas. So what we do is we set up and operate what we call interactive digital centers, or IDCs. And these are actual schools where we enroll students in a one-year post-secondary curriculum and train them to create AR and VR applications. And then we give them opportunities. Eon offices grow around these IDCs and hire the top students when they graduate to grow our business in that region and work on projects both locally and globally in collaboration with other offices. So an IDC consists of one or more classroom areas and also a cutting-edge showroom, which is the entrance of which is pictured here, with something like 15 different AR and VR systems where we can demo past solutions to future potential clients who are in that region. It's a really, really cool way for the company to grow and to make the world a better place and create opportunities. It's wonderful. And as of this month, I'm told that we have more than 20 IDC locations around the world, some of which are listed here. The pictures on the left side of the screen are from our Manchester IDC and office, which I visited. The statistics there is the Manchester IDC has educated over 200 students since the founding in 2012. And the office attached to it has a current staff of about 52 people. And that pattern is replicated in other offices around the world. So this global footprint we have is an unbeatable competitive advantage that enables us, together with local partners, of course, to build very much needed local capacity to develop knowledge transfer applications across all the verticals I was talking about before for local and regional markets. It's a really great thing. So let's talk about the clients in these markets all over the world. Let's delve into some of the problems that the clients in edutainment have faced when approaching us about edutainment projects. And I should note, if you have a specific business problem and you work in edutainment, and I don't mention it here, I would love to hear about them, so please reach out to me. But the ones I'm going to talk about fall into 4 broad categories. So first, whether you're building a destination attraction or an edutainment app on a mobile device, with so much media competing for customers' time, you're often looking for a special sauce that will differentiate you. Videos and basic touchscreen experiences are no longer novel when most people carry touchscreens around in their pockets. And in fact, their kids carry touchscreens around in their pockets. And you also want to deliver your message with maximum impact. How do you awaken curiosity and help players or customers get something real out of the experience? If you didn't care about reality, you'd just be making a game, right? And if you didn't care about fun, you'd just be giving a lecture. But differentiating yourself isn't enough, right? You need to grab attention and hold it long enough to create some emotional investment or some connection with players or users. I mentioned earlier how important it is to create value, to create meaning for the people who seek edutainment. And to do that, you need and want them, you want and need them to stick around long enough to be inspired, and you want them to keep coming back, because in entertainment, word of mouth is possibly the most powerful way to get new visitors or users to come experience what you've built and grow your business that way. So third, if you're not growing, you're standing still, of course. In the edutainment space, budgets are often very tight, but you need to get more and more people to experience what you've built in order to leverage your existing investments. And you're on a content treadmill, because to get the customers that you do satisfy, to get them to return, you very often have to give them something new. And it would be great if you could expand your brand and create new revenue streams. And let's not forget the impact point. You, or often your funding sources, especially if they're foundations or you're a nonprofit, you're in this edutainment business to have a measurable impact on the world. You have a message that you want to share. And you don't want to spend a large part of your budget building infrastructure to do the measuring. And lastly, how are you going to enable visitors or users or players to share and remember the experience? Pictures and videos aren't like being there. It'd be really great if only there were just some way to help your audience tell their friends and family about what the experience you've built is like. So as you can imagine, I'm prepared to talk about how augmented reality and virtual reality solve those problems. Our experience executing edutainment projects has taught us that AR and VR are particularly great at solving these four classes of problems. So first an overview, and then I'll dive into case studies. So to help you tell a better story, VR and AR have the power to capture the imagination. Virtual reality, through the immersion of the devices, replacing your sensory world, it literally commands attention and focus, because it replaces the world that you see and sometimes hear, and even smell with some of the new technologies that we're experimenting with. And augmented reality, because it has overlays on top of the world, it literally adds information to the world. It exposes things that are there, or it mixes in mixed reality. It adds things that aren't there, that add additional meaning to the world around you. And so in entertainment, education, and tourism, we've seen this again and again, the wow factor of these new technologies and their inherent properties work together to inspire and awaken curiosity. So to the second point, beyond the initial attention grab, we strongly believe, as I mentioned, we need to add value. It's not enough for people to exit the experience and say, oh, wow, that was cool. That will be forgotten very quickly the next time something cool is shown to them. What you need to do is build something that is meaningful and offers ongoing value to influence, so that they will influence their friends to try it. And one way we like to solve this is by building on the AVR platform, and I'll talk more about it, but essentially we can adapt large-scale experiences that we build in our engine, things that might run on a dome or a cave with 3D, one of those sort of large-scale integrated systems. We can adapt those in our engine to run on mobile platforms. And we have an existing, as I mentioned, white labelable platform where you can simultaneously push new updates and launch new experiences on both Android and iOS at the same time without having to go through each company's approval process. And that's really cool. And it enables you to build an ongoing relationship with the people who have visited a physical attraction or who are using a mobile app. So to address the third point, the need to do more with less, when we start to plan a scoping phase with you, one of my favorite exercises is to think of an edutainment project as a new revenue stream, where the new revenue literally pays the development cost. And we can design around an existing scope. If you know what you want built, we can price that out and figure out what it's going to cost. But my favorite thing is to work closely with you during a paid design phase so that we can build a business model together and scope the project to fit a projected break-even at a projected point in time based on what you know about your existing audience. Entertainment is risky, and edutainment is risky too. But one way to manage that risk is to design around the idea that an entertainment project, if it's well scoped up front and well polished at the end, it really can pay for itself. I've worked on some staggeringly expensive games like Tomb Raider, and the key to recouping that investment is proper planning and scoping up front and lots of polish at the end. This fourth point, remembering and sharing, VR and AR is especially great if you have an existing experience in other media, because we can capture it in 360. One of the nice things about our engine is it allows us to not just have 360 videos and pictures as well as 3D modeling and animation, computer-generated imagery, but we can combine the two efficiently and on a variety of scales, even on mobile. So if you have an existing experience, like if you're a tourist, if you run a tourist destination or have a museum or an amusement park, your existing investment and an edutainment project that you build in VR and AR, they can support each other. So a tourist destination, for example, might attract casually interested spectators, but by immersing visitors in interactive VR and AR experiences tied to that attraction, the destination story becomes the participant's story. Right? It's not just about a viewer. They stop being a viewer and they become an active participant. So the visitors aren't just entertained, but they're active and they pay attention throughout the experience. They get more out of it, they remember it more, and they more fully experience your message. So if we build a large-scale experience for you, by reproducing all or some of the attraction in virtual reality, viewers from all parts of the world can share in the beauty and wonder of the destination. They can experience what it's like to actually be standing there on site with an expert tour guide or a subject matter expert sharing their passion, transferring knowledge from you to them, your user. As you know, nothing replaces the passion that you have for the particular topic that you're interested in building an experience around, and that passion is infectious. If you're an archaeologist crouching in a ruin right next to your user and explaining to them what the significance is hugely contagious. So strongly recommend that you consider multiple platforms for an edutainment experience. And when I talk about multiple platforms, right, it's because Eon builds experiences as part of an end-to-end solution, our VR and AR end-to-end solution. So in talking about our end-to-end solution, I thought I would start by talking about the virtual reality and augmented reality head-mounted displays that are capturing so much attention these days. We can produce work for the tethered virtual reality devices like the Vive and the Oculus Rift and PlayStation VR. And these are all tethered to powerful PCs or to the Sony PlayStation for PlayStation VR. And end users are going to end up spending between $400 and $800 just for the head-mounted display. To get the Sony PlayStation or the PC capable of supporting the Vive and the Rift, you're talking about another between $400 for the PlayStation to $1,200 or even more for the PC per user. And that works for some things. But we also like to talk about the entry level, as it were, mobile devices that are at a much lower price point. That's the second row. So anywhere from $20 or less for the Google Cardboard or the Homido, the clip-on in the middle there, to the Daydream, about $199, or the Gear VR. But for these, of course, users have to slide a phone into the front of the device, and in some cases, very specific high-end phones, like the Daydream supports a very small number of phones, including the Google Pixel. But this is a really nice entry point to virtual reality. And in the case of some projects we've developed, it's a revenue stream for you. Multiple projects that we've done create a revenue stream by having, as part of the experience, a custom printed Google Cardboard that serves as either a souvenir or a sort of deluxe fan engagement experience. And then you have augmented reality on the bottom row, and these are untethered or tethered devices that overlay info on the real world. The HoloLens is entirely untethered. It's really great. But these devices are quite costly, and they're not widely available yet. But our software supports them, and we've been building client projects, or in some cases pilot projects, on these platforms. So these are the ones you may be familiar with. But the ecosystem of virtual reality and augmented reality is actually a full spectrum that involves a lot of different hardware platforms. And as a company, we're hardware agnostic. The sort of soundbite is we like to say that we build virtual reality and augmented reality solutions from phone to dome. So there's a wide spectrum of different publishing platforms that our engine and our platform supports. And we can and have used any of these, and sometimes multiple of these, to create experiences. And so we can even build content that runs on multiple platforms. And yes, it has to be adapted sometimes. The high texture density that's possible, the number of polygons that are possible on a Vive might not be possible on Google Cardboard, but it's not as costly as starting from scratch. And we're talking about code, and a code that can largely be ported with just a click of a button, and content that can be optimized for relatively cheaply. And what's really cool is we function as a systems integrator and a reseller for all of these products. We've found often clients don't want to deal with multiple vendors. They don't want to deal directly with hardware and software and systems integration and installation. And we've been performing those services for pretty much our entire company history. So we're not just a software company. We are hardware agnostic, but we do systems integration and installation, which is pretty cool. So what a lot of these projects represent in the case studies I'm going to talk about are a true end-to-end solution, where as inputs, we have a whole plethora of input formats from 360 video and 360 images that we can capture ourselves, or you can find a vendor, or you might have an existing library. You might have computer-generated imagery coming from CAD or animation, or from Autodesk 3D packages, or GIS data, or medical data like MRI. And that goes into our platform and our ecosystem, and then we can publish to mobile, to headsets, to augmented reality glasses, to laptops, to 3D laptops, group projection displays that require 3D goggles, immersive displays like the iDome and the iBench, which is based on a zSpace platform, or the Cave, which with some augmentations we call an iCube. Okay, so now let me get to the case studies. Now that you know a lot more about how we've built past projects and what our end-to-end solution is, let's talk about some example edutainment customers who've used our solutions across the full range of our publishing platforms. And I'm going to cover these in reverse order. So instead of going from phone to Dome, I'm going to start with the Dome and the big integrated systems like the Dome and the iCube and the Mirror. And I'm going to transition down through the room scale VR to the Google Cardboard at the other end of the spectrum. So in 2014, Eon Reality actually created a whole series of immersive experiences at the World Cup. And it was really one of our very early forays into edutainment and fan activation. There were iCube experiences on the field. There was a magic mirror that took your picture as you kicked a virtual soccer ball and turned you into a superstar. And guests who traveled to the Copacabana beach lined up for these experiences. And it was a really fantastic example of how virtual and augmented reality can activate fans and get them really excited about something that they already want to know more about. And through virtual and augmented reality experiences, they can learn more, experience more, and be entertained and inspired and informed. Another project around that time frame was the virtual aquarium that we built in an empty room at the Hawaii facility of the Parques Reunida company. That's a company that runs a large number of marine life parks around the world. This one was particularly interesting because it really solved a couple of problems. First of all, there was an empty space, and we launched a whole series of demos there, ranging from an iDome experience like the one that you see on screen here, to ones that use the eye catcher, which is a vertical screen. And what's particularly cool about this is it sort of solves a couple of problems. Aquariums around the world are struggling to increase their visitors and lower costs, and it takes. We were told at the time to keep a dolphin in captivity, it costs about $1 million per year per animal, making it extremely expensive to add new animals to aquariums and maintain them. And also there are humane issues, as I'm sure many of you are aware. There's a big push to release a lot of these large marine mammals and fish, like the whale shark here, into the ocean rather than keep them in captivity. So solving sort of three problems at once, virtual and augmented reality experiences enabled these aquariums to both control costs and create really exciting and engaging experiences for their visitors, for their existing visitors. Space Next is a project which is launching right now, also for the iDome. And Eon Reality recently partnered with Luc Ployer of Afterglow Studios. He had already created a 4K stereoscopic 3D film, and we were going to license it and run it in our iDome. Now, the iDome is a facility that we have in several locations around the world where there are 24 seats in 3 rows, stereoscopic glasses on a huge screen, and then each seat has a controller which lets every individual interact with what's going on the screen. And a big challenge, of course, is designing experiences that use the interactivity. So it's relatively straightforward to license a linear film, a piece of linear edutainment like Space Next. But we wanted to go beyond that and create a companion piece called Space Next Beyond, which would use many of the same CG assets that were developed for the film and put them and take that IP and put it in a new context and create an interactive companion piece. What's particularly cool about that is the two pieces can run alternately at the iDome. So somebody who is attending, for example, at the Mall of Mauritius, where we're installing an iDome right now, they can buy a ticket for the linear edutainment, the film that Afterglow Studios made, and then they can also buy a ticket to Space Next Beyond, or they can buy a bundled ticket for both experiences. So you can see how an investment, which is less than creating a whole new experience would be, can create an opportunity for incremental revenue. So where the linear film is a documentary enhanced with CG visuals describing how humankind took the skies and our race to the moon and our belief that we're entering a golden age of human space exploration in the solar system. We took that sort of fundamental premise and many of the assets from the film, and we created a mission that the 24 audience members sitting in the seats could take on the role of 24 salvage operators tasked with finding and bringing back to Earth an old 21st century solar sail that was lost somewhere during the latter part of this century that we live in. So they're entering a science fictional universe that is inspired by current science and an accurate portrayal of what we believe is actually possible. I sort of, the elevator pitch for Space Next Beyond would be, it's kind of like the TV show Cosmos meets the ride Star Tours at Disney, where it's a fictional environment, but it's based on documentary. And I think that's really the epitome of edutainment, in that it does inspire, it does entertain, but it also informs. In the Manchester office, we've done a number of interactive mirrors for Merlin Entertainment, which is one of Europe's largest entertainment companies. And they've commissioned a number of projects and have deployed them to properties that they operate, like the Madame Tussauds in the UK, Legoland in the US, and in Germany, as you can see. These are all based on the interactive mirror, which is it's a sort of vertical flat screen that we used it's the same technology that was used at the FIFA event. And we published to it from the same platform, same environment that we use for all our publishing platforms. But in this particular case, there's a Kinect plugged into a PC that reads users' motions and can create various entertainment experiences with it. So in the case of FIFA, they could kick a soccer ball and have their picture taken for the front page of a newspaper, declaring them a hero, most valuable player for the game. For Merlin Entertainment at Warwick Castle, the interactive mirror application would allow a knight or a princess to dress up and move their arms to control a virtual sword that they can only see in the interactive mirror. And Merlin's been pretty pleased with these. They're very rapid to produce for us. And you can see in Madame Tussauds, you can try on bow ties and necklaces. And of course, in the retail webinar that we're doing, you can see the obvious use cases in the retail environment. But I love here in the edutainment webinar that we can create these custom experiences that are appropriate for specific attractions and locations. People are already going to Madame Tussauds. People are already going to Warwick Castle or London Dungeon or Chessington World of Adventures, and they get an added bonus through what's essentially augmented reality. It's pretty fun, cool stuff, and they've been very pleased, and that's always nice. This next one, though, uses the same technology, and while not strictly speaking edutainment, I love this project so much. It really makes me feel good about working here at Eon. So our Singapore office used the same interactive mirror, and they created a training piece for the meta schools, which are for developmentally delayed kids. Some of them are on the autism spectrum. And what they created was a virtual learning environment that that helps students practice and learn how to interact with public transportation. So they can flag down a bus, make sure it's the right bus, figure out where the money goes when they have to pay to get on the bus. And I just love it because it's bringing real value for these students, and it's a whole lot safer. So if you're developmentally delayed, or you're on the autism spectrum, it's so much safer to learn this at school with one of these magic mirrors and work interactively with it than it would be to be on the street close to a curb with traffic and buses going by. We're entering a phase 2 with that project because the first phase went very well. It's very nice. So very pleased about this. And I think it sort of illustrates the cross-pollination between all of the verticals that Eon Reality works in. So we have another publishing platform called the iCube, which is based on the CAVE standard. We demoed it at a lot of conferences when we're present there. So imagine a 10 by 10 room scale VR, only instead of wearing a Vive on your face, there are projectors projecting onto the walls, and you wear a simple lightweight pair of 3D glasses, optionally holding a controller, so you can just walk around naturally and normally and have a 3D virtual reality experience. And Ian developed a virtual reality tour of the Canton 13 factories during the 1800s in a simulation on the iCube. And it exhibits that element, that aspect of VR that lets you travel not just to a different place or to a different scale, but to a different time and really feel like you're there, experiencing lifestyles and events happening in the 1800s in this province in China. Now, going to the Vive itself, for BBC Scotland, our office in Laval, France, made a 3D CG replica of the Van Gogh painting Bedroom at Arrow, and lets the user walk around and explore it. This works actually on both the iCube Cave as well as on the Vive. And you can sort of see here, it's when viewed from a specific camera, it looks just like the painting, but it's a fully rendered 3D environment that you can explore and walk around in room scale, which I think is really cool. You can open the windows. There's even cloth simulation on the fabric hanging on the hooks on the wall. Also coming out of the Laval, France office, they worked on a really wonderful app with a local partner, a nutritionist and a healthy meal provider, to develop an application explaining how to cook one of their meals, the beef bourguignon take-home meal. And you can be guided through cooking this dish, and the overall aim of it is to learn nutritional facts and learn how to cook. But there's so much physics and simulation and such a chaotic experience. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Vive app, which we did not make, Job Simulator. But having experienced this, it really feels very much like a French food-focused kitchen version of Job Simulator, and I just love it to bits. It's really, really fun, as well as being informative and inspirational. So it's a really great example for me of edutainment on the Vive platform. This is one of my favorites. So we have been working with the Ministry for Heritage Affairs in Egypt with both artifacts from King Tut's tomb, as well as replicas of the environment, as well as, get this is absolutely wonderful, panoramic photos that Howard Carter took in 1924 when he opened King Tut's tomb. So we built a virtual reality experience and published it both to the iCube in room scale, as well as adapted a version of it for Google Cardboard that lets you sort of experience in 1922 the opening, the search for, the despair as Howard Carter thought that he couldn't find, the waiting as Howard Carter waited for Lord Carnarvon to join him in Egypt, and then eventually digging down and opening the seal of King Tut's tomb. And we've turned the panoramic photos that were taken back then into 180 VR experiences, and then using gaze triggers as you look around the room. When you see an artifact that has been scanned in 3D, it pulls up that artifact and allows you to explore it in 3D. And it is just a fantastic example of how, through the power of virtual reality, I can go back in time and feel like I'm right there with Howard Carter, seeing the tomb as it was. There's another app that we have on the App Store that looks like this. It allows the user to stand where, of course, the public cannot actually stand when they actually go to King Tut's tomb. And if you look to the left, you can see a wall that a real tourist can't even see, because from where they're permitted to stand, they're not, the angle of view, they're not able to see that. But through VR, of course, we can position the camera where they can actually see a wall that they can't see in real life, which I think is absolutely terrific. I'm very much looking forward to expanding on this and seeing what else we can do with it, letting us travel in time as well as in space. So what about augmented reality? The Singapore office worked with a school in Singapore to produce 4 science augmented reality apps that are designed for kids, and they were deployed on iPads in their school. And the way these work, these use the camera on the iPad to look at particular markers, and then, much like our Eon Experience AVR app, which is also available on iPad, you can view particular specific learning lessons in augmented reality. The one at the bottom I like a lot. It's a lesson about pollination. Once you activate the marker on the table and you see in augmented reality the flower appearing pinned to the position of the marker, there's a little bee that's pinned to the position of the camera. So you literally fly. You can literally fly your iPad around, and the bee will approach the flower that's positioned over the marker. And it's a really engaging and entertaining way to learn. It's an elementary school science curriculum. I think it's really cool. All right, moving back to VR and Google Cardboard. The band Megadeth was launching their 15th studio album, Dystopia. Eon Reality and Universal Music Group and a company called Seek worked together to create a virtual reality experience for simultaneous launch with their album. And it includes performances of the band Megadeth that were filmed in 360, and a virtual reality environment that lets fans interact with each other, as well as lets them view footage. And the reason I like this so much, and I want to bring it up, is this. If you can see at the bottom of this image, the CD could be sold optionally with a branded Google Cardboard that was printed with imagery from the band, from the album. And that cost the fans obviously more than it cost us. And the revenue from the Google Cardboard essentially funded a large portion of the product. During the first week of launch of the album in January 2016, 48,000 units were sold with the Google Cardboard, which greatly surpassed the expectations we had, and it really sort of proved this business model where, by creating these fan activation virtual reality applications, we're also creating an opportunity for a new revenue stream from souvenirs for people who don't yet have a Google Cardboard, or who perhaps do, but it's meaningful to them to have one that's branded as part of this fan experience for them. And so we've taken that exact model and we've done a lot of work in sports. So with the Miami Hurricanes, we've created a fan app that's designed for fans to be able to watch highlights, watch interviews, behind the scenes footage of all the Miami Hurricanes sports in virtual reality. You can see there are videos, there are 360 VR. We call it a VR fan experience. And this also can be sold with a Miami Hurricanes branded Google Cardboard. And same with the Nittany Lions from Penn State. We've taken that model and built a Lion Vision VR. There's a hockey application and even golf. We created some fan activation experiences with 360 video with pro golf stars. And then, of course, there are fans of a different sort. Our office in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, created an application for Saudi Telecom, which lets people go on a virtual Hajj, which, as many people know, Muslims are obligated to do at least once in their life. It's one of the 5 pillars of Islam that one must do this. And so now we have a fan activation app for a very different kind of fan, a member of a community that wants to go to this place, feel like they're there, and wants to remember having made the journey if they've done it. So you can relive the experience by bringing this application home. So it doesn't, as it notes here, it doesn't replace the pilgrimage that you have to do, or that you're encouraged to do, but it does provide a wonderful way to relive the experience in ways that a photo really can't do, or a video really can't do. This in VR, you feel like you're there. And also out of the Saudi Arabia office with the Ministry of Tourism and Cultural Heritage, we built a museum experience. In this particular case, it's a VR and AR application that's built for mobile headsets and tablets, that gives you a tour of this particular landmark, and is for sale along with a Google Cardboard in a number of different museums. Apparently, there's going to be a rollout to 24 different Saudi museums, as well as other high-value cultural heritage sites. And speaking of museums, on the App Store, the Google Play Store, as well as the iOS App Store, we have an app called Magi Chapel, which is really just a demo of a project that we did that enables you to go to Palazzo Medici's Magi Chapel in Italy. And it's really great because the way the Renaissance masterpieces are positioned there, it's really hard to get a sense of how they feel and how they're positioned from photos or videos. And the VR app we have, not only do you feel like you're there, but you can view close-ups of individual paintings as triggered through gaze. And it's a really fantastic application. And it led to a project with another museum client that I'm particularly excited about because it isn't static. So this is a client project that we did where not only does it showcase the most famous paintings in the collection, and it's designed for classroom setting, but it's pretty entertaining to use just on its own if you're an art buff. But what makes it different from other projects is very much like Eon Experience AVR, it sits on top of the AVR platform, and enables us to update the art that's on the wall and continue to engage with the user, whether they got this application at the museum in the gift shop or they found it in the App Store and use it with their existing cardboard. It encourages you to have a continuing relationship with the museum and return to see what's fresh and what's new. And I think this in particular offers a great hope for the future. I think that the future of edutainment and the future of monetizing people who are really interested in experiencing edutainment and paying for edutainment, people like me who want to go and be tourists and want to learn things, want to invest in experiences and memories and lifelong learning. People like that, we'd like to continue to learn throughout life. And so I think that if you are in the edutainment business, absolutely, we want to work with you on creating your next greatest piece of virtual and augmented reality content. We'd also like to come up with a way for you to create a continuing relationship with your customers, your players, your visitors, so that both before, during, and after their experience with your location or your application, you can continue to serve them new content and updates and encourage them to tell their friends and involve their friends. And with that, thank you very much. That's all I have to share today. There are going to be a lot more case studies that you'll find on our website across all the verticals besides edutainment. And with that, thank you very much.